Hello, everybody. Rob Cootie here, the MLM Solution. I want to welcome you guys to today's podcast, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. As you know, Monday through Friday, we stream live to our Facebook page and our YouTube channel, our podcast, where we cover all things network marketing, the good, the bad, and yes, even the ugly. As you guys have learned, we talk about things other network marketers are afraid to talk about because you have a right to this information. This information will empower you to do great things with this wonderful business model. That being said, we ask that you help share this wonderful information with our fellow network marketers all across the globe. As you can see in the ticker below, and for all of you on the listening on the podcast, hashtag the MLM Solution. That's hashtag the MLM Solution. Also visit our website, themlmsolution.net. Wherever you go, wherever you find us, please hit the share button, like button, comment. You know that the algorithms like that interaction, that engagement. It helps us to continue to get this message out and our information out to our fellow network marketers all across the globe. As you know, we're advocates for this industry. We believe in it when it's done right. Help us get the word out. All right, guys, today's subject is going to be a good one. It's going to be podcast number 183, excuse me. Sinuses there. Podcast number 183, Phase 2 and 3 Companies, Potential for Earnings. Podcast number 183. Today's subject, Phase 2 and 3 Company, their potential for earnings. For you, obviously, how much money can you make? We're going to take a deep dive into that subject here very shortly. Join us, won't you, at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on our YouTube channel and Facebook page. See you in a bit.
Welcome to the MLM Solution Podcast Show, where you'll learn the facts and hear the truth about the network marketing industry. Here's your host, Rob Cootie.
Hello, Rob. There he is.
I am struggling today. Today is Tuesday, May 17th. I have sicky dogs around me, Miss Marie. I'm on a new computer with a smaller keyboard. Things just not working smoothly as we normally do.
Well, I thought it was great. For those watching the video, it's like the introduction. Here's your host, Rob Cootie, and then it's just a picture of me that comes up. That's kind of scary.
I actually clicked on it to add me to the podcast, but it didn't do it. Once again, if it can go wrong, it will, right?
Hey, if that's all that goes wrong today, we're in great shape.
I know it. I agree with you 100%. Well, Miss Marie, today's May 17th. Hard to believe we're already halfway through the daggone month. Not 17th.
18.
Excuse me. Yes, 18. I don't know why. I'm still stuck on yesterday. The tax day, deadline, tax day, May 17th.
Yeah, I was going to say that's one of the dates that sticks in your mind because it's important, right? Because if you didn't get your taxes filed by midnight last night, you might have a little bit of the problem with the IRS, and nobody wants that.
And, well, we'll just leave it at that. How's that on Monday? But anyway, today's Tuesday, the 18th. If you see me looking down, it's because I have a couple of sick doggies, as Miss Marie knows. We've had some doggy issues here in the last month or so. And I had two of them get sick on me, Miss Marie, just moments ago.
Oh.
It never ends. I'm telling you, if you didn't know me, well, you do. I don't like drama in my life. I don't bring people that bring drama. But my gosh, my life has been full of drama the last 2 years, ever since. It's been crazy. Absolutely crazy. But I don't bring that drama to other people. When I go to visit them, I don't spill my guts about all the things going on in my life. Who cares? You know what? Deal with it. Right? And I only bring it up to you guys because you'll see me on the show looking around. Luke is right between my legs. And I'm not sure if it was him that threw up, and he's on all that medication. So I got to watch him very closely. And he's wanting my attention. When he gets up between my legs and licks on my ankles, it's because he either doesn't feel good or he's hungry or something. So I just wanted to let you guys know, as you'll see me looking down, what's going on here. All right, Miss Marie, I'm wearing my Tommy Bahama. I'm on the beach shirt, or I wish I was on the beach shirt. How's that?
I was going to say, it's summer in Louisville, huh?
Well, you know me, I love the beach, and I'm a big Tommy Bahama fan. I have quite a bit of Tommy Bahama stuff, and whenever I get a chance to put it on, guess what? Off I go. Because even though I can't be at the beach, at least I can feel like I'm at the beach, right?
Exactly. There you go. Bring a little bit of the beach home.
I can look the part. Well, you know, the wife and I were talking the other day, and I'm not going to get off subject. We're going to get started here very shortly. And I told her, I said, you know, if I didn't have grandkids, I'd be either in the British Virgin Islands or the U.S. Virgin Islands, one of the two. So that's where I would live.
Nice.
Well, I guess it's not for everybody, right? But, you know, you have all the protection of the U.S. You have the currency. You have certain laws. In other words, you know, if you go to a lot of, how would you say, tropical islands, you're not sure about the government. You're not sure about the money. And you're not sure about your safety. So I would rather go someplace where I at least understood the laws and understood the government, right?
That's a good point.
So there you go. All right. With that being said, we have an interesting show today. It's phase 2 or 3 companies. You know, really, where's the money? Right, Miss Marie? It always boils down to money. And as you know, yesterday we talked about the older companies, the advantages of the older companies. And this episode today, guys, is kind of tapping into that because a phase 2 and 3 company, phase 3 company is definitely an older company. Phase 2 is really in purgatory because it's leaving phase 1, transitioning. It's a transitional phase, and it's transitioning, hopefully, if the owners, if they really have goals that they've set, into a phase 3 company. In other words, they become one of the standards of the industry. And that means the Mary Kays, the Monavis, the Herbalifes, the Shackleys, Metalluca. I hate going through that list, Miss Marie, because I hate leaving out companies that make up the basics. I mean, the foundation of this industry. So with that being said, if Miss Marie and I were to start a new networking company, if we are smart business people, which I feel we are, we would say, hey, our goal, because you got to have an end game. Our goal is to be a phase 3 company. We would love to be able to go through all 3 phases. And if Miss Marie and I decide to sell it once we get to phase 3, that's, you know, a discussion for a later date. But that would be an admirable goal, okay? But we have to go through phases 1 and 2, especially phase 1, which is the most volatile. Funding is uncertain. Product is uncertain. Comp plan needs adjustment, maybe. I mean, there's so much going on that the farthest thing from your mind is phase 3. But if you're lucky enough to get there, it's a totally different animal and totally different ballgame when it comes to maintaining a phase 3 company. So is there any money? That's what we're going to be talking about today. You know, is it worth your effort? Well, you listened to yesterday's episode, which is Monday, the 17th. I got it right that time, Miss Marie. And talk today. If you go back and listen to yesterday's episode, you'll hear us talking about the advantages of an older company, once again, which is a phase 3 company. There's a lot of positives, a lot of advantages to being a part or building a business in a phase 3 company. We both have soft spots in our hearts. We don't say that because we're on the podcast. We say that because even in private, Miss Marie and I talk about the older companies with admiration because we understand what it takes to make it to that level. And we're grateful that those companies are still around. Miss Marie, I can't imagine a network marketing industry or world, for that matter, that didn't have an Amway or Mary Kay in it. or Herbalife. Those are household names. They've been around forever, good or bad. They've been on the public's lips for many years.
Well, exactly. And I was going to say, just to back up for a moment, we talk about the fact that a company is in one of three growth phases as it matures, right? And our main focus, as we're talking in the majority of our episodes, we're focusing on phase one companies. Those are the brand new companies that are just starting out within the first 1 to 3 years, typically, maybe 5 if it's pushing it, because we're talking about the companies that have the potential for extreme growth, and those are the brand new companies. So we tend to focus on phase one and the huge earning potentials that come with phase one companies. But we thought we'd take a step back and talk about the phase two and phase three companies and those potential for earnings, because we don't address those very often. But as Rob mentioned, yesterday we did spend a bit of time talking about phase three companies, those that are established, the older companies, and some of the advantages that are with them. Today, we're going to talk specifically about the potential for earnings. So phase two companies are the companies that have managed to survive the first handful of years, and it looks like they're going to stay around for the long term, right? So they're still growing, but the growth trajectory has tapered off a little bit. It's not as steep as it was in the first handful of years. And then a phase three company, that's an established, maintained company. There may be a little bit of growth, but typically they're just stable and they're kind of flatlining it. So we want to talk about those two phases specifically in terms of potential for earnings today. So that's where our focus is going to be.
Right. And that's a great segue into the subject matter. And guys, you have to ask yourself, if you run into a company that's been around 3 to 5 years, a new company, because we still consider a phase one company a new company. Why do we say that? Because there's still real serious money available. Okay. Now, we're not going to get into phase one companies because we talk about them all the time. But we're going to touch on phase one just a tad bit, because at the tail end of the phase one growth, and you say, well, what signifies the tail end of phase one growth? Typically, the company has slowed down on its international expansion. Typically, the company's quarterly growth starts to flatline a little bit, starts to level off, not just a dip. You know, they're going to take dips. Sometimes they're going to take violent dips. In other words, one quarter they may make a profit of 1.3 million. The next quarter they may be down to 500,000. Okay, but in the third quarter it could go up to 2 million. So there's these very large swings that can happen with a phase one company. But what happens in a phase two company, things start to level out a little bit. In other words, the profit for phase one could be 850,000. The profit for quarter two could be 1.2 million. The profit for quarter three could be 900,000. There's a small dip here and there, but guess what? Overall, the numbers are starting to flatten out, okay, on a quarterly basis. That is some of the first indicators. In other words, the slowdown of international growth and the quarterly profits will start to indicate that the company is going out of phase one into phase two. Now, this is not a bad time period. Okay, the company is still experiencing growth on a quarterly basis. There's still big money available. There's still more countries to go into, just not as many and not as much growth as it was when it was in its explosive phase one, especially in the early years. Okay, but you got to remember in phase two, there's still the possibility, a 20% possibility that you can create wealth. Okay, and why is that? Because 20% of the company's wealth is created in phase two. 70% is created in phase one. Okay, that's when all the explosive, crazy stuff is going on, and that exponential growth, and all the people joining, and all the people buying product in a frenzy. And then when the dust starts to clear, the real products. In other words, if you have a line of 10 products, there'll be 3 or 4 products. Just like we tell you, there's 3 to 5 legs. You're going to make 95% of your income. Guess what? There's going to be 3 to 4 products they're going to carry a company long term. Their most popular products, for instance, in Amway, it's their soap, their laundry soap. It's still one of their biggest sellers, if not the biggest seller. That's what's got the company started to begin with. All right. With Nu Skin, Miss Marie, it was skincare and makeup. Okay. And that's still two of their biggest sellers. So there's usually, as time goes along and the company goes from phase one into phase two, the products that are going to carry the company long term start to surface. Okay. And they'll bring on peripheral products later on, trying to boost sales and trying to get excitement up again, blah, blah, blah. Now, in phase two, Miss Marie, there's still a lot of money available. 20% of the growth, the company's growth, is still going to happen in phase two, meaning that there's still a real opportunity. But here's where it differs, Miss Marie. The large percentage of that 20% that's still available is going to happen in the early phase two, where the company is phasing out of transitioning from phase one, the tail end of phase one, and going into early phase two growth. There is a lot of money still available in that area. As the company continues in their phase two process, the growth process, in the middle of phase two towards the tail end of phase two is where things really start to slow down. Okay. And let me clarify that just a moment, Miss Marie, and let me know if I do a good job. At the tail end of phase one growth into the early, when the companies transition into the early phase two growth, well, there's still growth taking place. As we said, in phase two, there's 20% growth still available, meaning that there's a 20% chance for you to create wealth still with this company in this phase. But from the tail end of phase one, transitioning in the early part of phase two is where maybe 17% of that 20% is going to happen. Does that make sense, Miss Marie? Mm-hmm. And then 3% of the remaining of that percentage growth is going to happen towards the tail end of phase two. Did I make that clear?
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Now, is it always going to be 17%? No, as we tell you all the time, we're not the end all, okay, with our comments. What we're telling you is giving you a broad stroke across here, because it could be 10%, it could be 9%. There's so many dynamics that affect that number. There's no way that Miss Marie and I could predict that. Okay, even if we were sitting there and part of the company and we were to make predictions so that we could make a decision whether to stay or go, we couldn't do that, could we, Miss Marie? There's too many dynamics. There's too many surprises, meaning that the leaders or owners of the company could say it could come out in the middle of phase two growth with this revolutionary product that could just spike things and extend that phase two growth, because there's no set timetable for phase one or phase two growth. The numbers that we quote are averages that have shown over 60 years that this is typically when these shifts happen in the phase growth, right, Miss Marie?
Yeah, it's one of those where hindsight is 20/20. You're able to see the numbers in the past, but while you're in the midst of it, it's hard to project what it's going to be. Nobody has that crystal ball.
No. Miss Marie and I can make a very educated decision, but we could not predict the growth in phase two. We just know overall that 20% growth happens typically in the phase two. Miss Marie, it could be 75-25. Okay. It could be 65-25. In other words, 65 in phase one, 25 in phase two. I mean, the numbers are going to vary. Okay. Because guess what? You're dealing with human beings. And you're dealing with dynamics on a world basis. So there's things that affect that. All right. But overall, you can pretty much count on what we're telling you to be pretty darn accurate for the most part, giving you the ability to make very solid, educated decisions. And you're saying, well, decisions about what? If you run into a company that's phasing out of phase one and transitioning into phase two growth, there still may be a real opportunity. And if you like the product and if you know the owners and you see that there's still international growth possible and you're excited about the countries going into, because Miss Marie, just because they're expanding internationally does not mean they're going into profitable countries. Right?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Just because they still, in their phase two growth, they're going into other countries doesn't mean that those other countries are profitable. It doesn't mean.
Yeah. Well, they're going to target the most profitable countries to go into in phase one, right? That's where the tremendous growth comes from. But as they're going into phase two, the remaining countries they're going into, they're typically going to be the smaller countries, and there's going to be a smaller potential coming out of those countries. That does tend to be accurate. Yeah.
Right. And the countries they go into, guys, affects that 20% growth. Okay. If they're seasoned veterans, they go into countries that give them the ability. Let's say they go into a small country that has a limited population. Say this country only has 1.3 million people, but at the same time, they're going into a country that has 20 million people. There's two different countries they're going into. They find out that this country, the small country that has 1.3 million people, that 300,000 of those people are involved in network marketing. Well, that's a pretty good market. Okay. You don't ignore 300,000 customers. Okay. And the other country has 20 million people, and they have 1.5 million people in network marketing. Both of them very solid. Obviously, the larger company is going to bring bigger numbers to you and larger growth, but you can't ignore 300,000 proven customers in the smaller country either. Now, together, that makes a real opportunity for a business builder. But individually, if they're just going into the smaller country, that's not enough to keep Rob and Marie around or excited. Even though it's 300,000 people, it may benefit the company, but it may not benefit us as distributors because there's not enough growth there, even at 300,000. But the bigger country of 20 million and the 1.3 million people in the little country combined together, well, that's something that Miss Marie and I can look at. We can sink our teeth into and say, okay, there's enough volume here that if I tap into it, I can make some serious money, right, Miss Marie?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, there are a lot of different dynamics you have to look at as the companies expand, and it changes as they go into phase two, right?
That's right. That's right. And see, here's what I'm getting at. The reason I give you guys that example, if Miss Marie and I were to run into a company that's transitioning from phase one, the tail end of phase one, which is still a lot of money available there, and they're going into phase two, one of the questions Miss Marie and I would ask the leadership, the owners of the company, whatever, what countries are you going into? And they better say, well, we have 15 more, 20 more countries we're going into, and here they are. And they would share that with us. And we would ask them, well, what is the market there? What is the overall market? Well, we're going to get exposed to 150 million people. And out of that 150 million people, 3.2% are proven network marketers. Ms. Marie and I are getting solid numbers. And we're saying, okay, all right. And then we're going to kind of drill down, because just because they're going into 20 countries doesn't mean that Rob and Miss Marie want to go into those 20, focus on those 20 countries. We want to focus on the biggest markets. We're not going to waste our time, because you got to remember, you got to put your time and effort behind something that is going to work with you. If the numbers are not going to work with us, why waste our time with a country of 1.3 million people when I got a country over here that's got 20 million? Okay. Now, as a group, Miss Marie, if in 20 countries, if they say, yeah, in the next 6 months, we're going in these 20 countries, I'm going to hit the biggest country first, and I'll worry about the little ones later, right? Because I got to get my piece of pie in the big ones first. I got to get in there. I got to be one of the first ones into those countries. It's just the way that things are. Timing is absolutely everything when the company's going into these other countries. Now, why is that important to you? Once again, in phase two, because there's real potential there. Miss Marie and I have run into a company that we really like. We know the owners. We trust in them. They have a proven track record. They're now at year 5. They're solid. Their funding is good. Their product line is good. Their comp plan has been adjusted in the past, but for the last 3 years, it's solid. It hasn't been messed with at all. There's a lot of good indicators, Miss Marie, that this later phase one company is offering you and I a real good opportunity to make some serious money. Not maybe create wealth. There is that possibility, but really money that would capture our attention, right? And it's something that we can get behind, because Miss Marie, it's not just about you and I. This business is all about what? helping other people be more successful than you. Okay, meaning that I have to be able to look my prospects in the eye and say, hey, there is money available here. There's big money. Okay, why? Because you're going to attract a higher quality person. Now, we've talked about that in the past episodes. What I'm getting at here is it worth it? The potential earnings, is it worth it for you to look at a phase 2 or 3 company? I would say, Miss Marie, it's a case-by-case thing on a phase 2 company. It's all based on how many countries they're going to go into and the size of the markets in those countries and when they're going to do it. Are they going to go in those 20 countries over a 2-3 year period? If that is the case, Miss Marie, that's too slow. I can't create the momentum. I can't create the excitement. I can't maintain, even if I was able as Superman to create that buzz, that excitement about going into those countries, Miss Marie, I can't sustain that excitement over a 3-year period in my downline. I'm going to have people leaving, going to another newer company. So if they say, no, we're going to go into these 20 countries in the next 14 months, now I got something I can work with. And guys, this is exactly the reason I bring this up, these little details, is because we're always telling you there's dynamics that have to work with you. The business model has to work with you, right, Miss Marie? And this is a prime example of that happening. And it's critically important, especially in a phase 2 company, right?
Yeah, it absolutely is. And let's what happens then when they're transitioning from a phase 2 to a phase 3 company?
Well, what happens is that you really start to see the flat line. And what you're going to do here, guys, you're going to look at the quarterly growth, especially over the last year minimum, and if you can, 2 years. Okay, because a trend, a pattern is going to start to surface. And that trend is going to tell you what is possible with this phase 3 company. And once again, Miss Marie, it all boils down to what you want. Look, there's a lot to be said for making an extra $3,000 to $5,000 a month, which is realistic in these older companies. Guys, take great pride in that. You don't need that. I make $20,000 a month. That's great. That's fantastic if you do. But I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of staying power in $3,000 to $5,000 a month over 4 or 5 years. Miss Marie, that could change somebody's lives. You know what, Miss Marie? Knowing, and the friendships you develop in that, Miss Marie, and guys, you're going to have a stable business. Miss Marie, if you build a business, a successful business in a phase 3 company that's focused on people that are looking for stability and safety and a steady income, Miss Marie, you are going to build a steady business that very few people are going to leave, because Miss Marie, you're attracting people that are not caught up in the glitz and glamour and the volatility of a new company, a phase 1 company. They don't want that as part of their life. They don't want that stress. They don't want that worry. They're willing to put their effort behind something they can get up every day and trust and depend on and not get stressed out over. And if you build it in the phase 3 company, I'm telling you, you're going to build a profitable, successful business that will sustain itself for many years to come, Miss Marie. You're not going to have a lot of people leaving that business, right?
Well, exactly. And we went into that in a little bit more detail in yesterday's episode,
Yes.
talking about the advantage of those established companies. So I don't think we need to revisit that in as much detail, but
No.
the potential for earning is there. And again, we tend to talk and focus on the phase 1 company growth because we're looking for that, big ramp up of momentum, of earning potential, of making that true lifestyle changing income. Right. But for those who are looking for the side hustle, funding their retirement program, funding the kids' college, having the extra money to pay off some bills to help them get out of debt, phase 3 companies are a great place to be. Right,
exactly. There's a place for phase 3 companies. There's no doubt. If there's any phase that's lost in the shuffle, Miss Marie, it's phase 2. Because really, there's not a lot of attraction in joining phase 2 other than 20% of the wealth for the company and individuals can be created in a phase 2 company. Only 10% of the wealth can be created for the company in the phase 3, and individuals, of course, in phase 3. Okay, meaning that, yes, you can still create wealth in phase 3. It means that maybe 1 in 1,000 people. maybe 1 in 1,500 people. I don't know the numbers. I used to be pretty accurate with that years ago when I was more active and monitored the industry back in the day, but I don't do that anymore. But 1 in 1,000, 1 in 1,500, it could be higher based on the company, is going to be pretty close. Okay. In other words, the odds are not in your favor. But Ms. Marie, most people don't go into phase 3 looking to create wealth. They understand what they have. They understand what it can produce, and they fully embrace that. And that's good. And if they end up creating wealth in the process, that's an added bonus, right?
Absolutely. Well, and I would put out the fact that most people go into a network marketing company not even understanding that the phase that the company is in is important to their earning potential.
Yes.
Because again, the majority of people are being introduced to the network marketing opportunity by a friend or a family member, and they just see it as an opportunity to make some money, but they don't necessarily understand everything that they have because they're not a professional in the industry. They haven't been trained. They haven't been educated. They only know what they've been told. And at that point, it's almost the current version of the 3-foot rule, right? Anybody you talk to, expose them to the opportunity. It's great. It's fantastic. Product sells itself. All the usual nonsense we kind of talk about. So, but these are things that, the folks listening to this podcast, they're looking for how to make this industry work for them, how to make the money, gain the time freedom, get that lifestyle change that they're looking for. So these are some of the things that you need to know. And that's again, right. as Rob often says, there aren't a lot of people out there talking about these things and how important they are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then you make some great points there. And thank you for that. Guys, here's the thing. Let's summarize this in this way. There's money available in phase 2 and 3. There's no doubt about it. Okay, there's good to great money. There's even a chance for wealth. And when Miss Marie and I talk about wealth, we're talking about guys having the ability to create money that could last you a lifetime, that could literally turn your life upside down, meaning that you have the ability to make multi-millions if you catch the lightning in the bottle. Okay, and we provide this information so you have a chance to do that. No one can guarantee that. It's all about timing and hard work. That's the bottom line. And using the right system, right, Miss Marie? That's what it's about. Mm-hmm. But we give you all the details so that you're educated enough to know about the different phases of the companies and when the wealth is created, if that is your goal. We tell you all the time, get in, get your butt in gear, make as much money as you possibly can, as quick as you can. If that ends up creating wealth, so be it. We rarely use the word wealth, but we know you can make big life-changing money, right, Ms. Marie? That's the reason why we tell you, get in, get started, and go after it. Go big. All right. Now, back to the summarization. Phase 2 and 3 offer you the ability to create wealth. There's no doubt about it, but the numbers or the percentages are greatly diminished by the nature of the beast. Okay. It's just the way it is. But can you create life-changing money in phase 2 and 3? Yes. More so in phase 2. The phase 2 process and the phase 2 companies are a lot trickier. It is the most, it's the trickiest of all phases. Catching the company at the right time, because 20% doesn't mean that 20% wealth creation is available during the whole phase 2 growth process. The vast majority of that 20% could happen in the first early parts of the phase 2 growth, or it could last 3/4 of the phase 2 growth. We don't know. Phase 2, Miss Marie, is a real tough one to judge. And once again, in our summarization, if you're going to look at it, if you run into a company that you really like and it's an early phase 2, it's worth your effort. Okay. If it's in the middle of the phase 2 growth, I would really be cautious. If it's at the tail end of that phase 3 growth, I would say pass. How do you know that? Look at the quarterly growth numbers, okay? And look at the countries they're in. Those are 2 big telltale signs. The other telltale sign, if you have big leaders leaving. Miss Marie, a lot of companies will stop posting the top 10 earners as the top earners are leaving, because it's a billboard of bad news. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Rob and Marie are no longer on the top 10. What happened to them? Where'd they go? Well, they decided to get out of the industry. All of a sudden, you hear they're down there with company X, Y, and Z. You know? Mm-hmm. So that's another telltale sign. If big leaders, Miss Marie, are leaving the company, there's a reason, right? During the phase 2. The money's gone. Right?
The big money, at least, that the big money, that the true business builders are looking for. Yes.
Yes. Good. Yeah. Very good point. Thank you for that clarification. She's right. So, guys, that's the summarization. Okay. This is a tricky part talking about phase 2 and 3. You can make big money. You can create wealth, but you got to understand the odds are against you. You got to understand the challenges that you face. We covered all of that. Okay. And if you go and listen to yesterday's episode about the older companies, the advantages, and you listen to today's episode, guess what? You're going to have great knowledge about this business model, especially in phase 2 and 3, which very few people talk about, Miss Marie. Do they rarely talk about phase 1 through 3? They don't. They rarely address that. Okay. And the reason being, Miss Marie, as we close, they want people to still join their businesses in that phase 2 and 3 time period. And guys, there's nothing wrong with that. You should keep an open mind, but they need to be honest with you. Now you're educated about what kind of growth is available in phase 2 and 3. And if they're honest with you saying, hey, this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for stability. I'm looking for safety. You know, they're telling you the truth, because that's the biggest selling aspects of phase 2 and 3 companies. Miss Marie, you have anything to add?
I do not. I think we covered that pretty well. Between yesterday and today, I think that paints a great picture.
I agree. Invaluable information that we just shared with you guys. All right. Tomorrow's episode is going to cover the 4 critical mistakes. We can't believe that we never covered that. For some reason, it just went right over our head. That is one of our top products, the 4 critical mistakes most networkers make. Yes, even the veterans. That is the title of it, but we shortened it to the 4 critical mistakes. Okay. Because most network marketers make one or all of these mistakes, and it's huge. It's unbelievable that people make these kind of mistakes. Okay, with that being said, we're going to cover those in great detail tomorrow. If you don't know what these 4 critical mistakes are, and you don't know the damage they're doing to your business building activity, you need to join us tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. All right, Miss Marie?
Yes.
Okay. I'm trying very hard to do what I'm supposed to do here. And this new computer does not make it easy, or not new, but we don't use this computer very often. With that being said, Miss Marie, we're going to hop off of here. It was a great episode. Thank you, guys. Tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, please join us. Share our podcast and everything else with our fellow network marketers all across the globe by simply doing hashtag the MLM Solution. Also, visit our website, themlmsolution.net. All right, Miss Marie, we're going to hop off here. We'll see you tomorrow, 11 a.m. Everybody be safe, be careful, and we'll see you tomorrow and during our podcast. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the MLM Solution Podcast. For more info, visit our website, themlmsolution.net. Please follow us on the following platforms: Facebook, YouTube, etc. And share this podcast with our fellow network marketers around the world by hitting the share button on our various platforms.